This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Clippers fans got some bonus basketball last night at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. What they didn't get was a Clippers victory. In the first NBA regular season game in the Clippers' new arena, the Phoenix Suns held on for a 116-113 win in overtime. James Harden missed a free throw with 4 seconds left in overtime that would have tied the game. Harden then fumbled away an inbounds pass, preventing the Clippers from getting off a potential game-tying three-pointer at the buzzer. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer still had a festive sellout crowd in the building. Kevin Durant, who led the Suns with 25 points, said the Intuit Dome is already the best arena in the NBA. Another major sporting event is in Inglewood tonight. The Rams play the Minnesota Vikings at SoFi in the NFL's Thursday night matchup. Two HBCU football teams are ranked in this week's top 25 Division I AA poll. North Carolina Central is number 21. Jackson State is 23rd. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is here for you as you make your voting plan. And we've got a few things you may want to know. In the state of California, you can register to vote all the way up until the last day to vote, which is November 5th. In LA County, you may vote at any voting center or polling place of your choosing. Early voting has already started, both in person and by mail. If you need information about your registration or any election question, call the Registrar of Voters at 800-815-2666. That's 800-815-2666, or visit lavote.gov. Once you fill out your mail-in ballot, you may drop it in any county election mailbox found outside places like libraries, or you could drop it off with a poll worker at any vote center. If you suspect election foul play, voter suppression or intimidation, or other irregularities, or if you need to know more about your rights, call the Election Protection Hotline at 1-866-OUR-VOTE. That's 866-687-8683. From any state. And if you need more information on specific candidates or propositions, check out our interviews and analysis on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, November 5th is the last day to vote, and the sooner we do it, the better. Helping you vote like your life depended on it, because it does. Your election information station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavismiley.com. That's thetavismiley.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. If you will bear with me for a moment, in a few moments I'll give you the rundown, as we typically do at the top of the hour. The rundown for all 3 hours of today's show. I am rushing to get to our guest on the line right now because he's on a tour bus. We've had a lot of this of late, and we'll have more of it between now and Election Day. We catch folk when we can, and I believe he's on a tour bus somewhere in Pennsylvania, but I'm pleased to welcome to this program the black Republican out of Florida, Byron Donald. You know Byron Donald. You saw him sitting next to Donald Trump every night during the RNC convention in Milwaukee. He is a self-described black MAGA patriot, and I'm pleased to have him on this program. Congressman, how are you today, sir? Congressman, can you hear me? There you are. There you are. Can you hear me?
I got you, Tavis. You got me? I got you.
You're loud and clear, man. First of all, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. You know, just on the road in Pennsylvania.
Tell me where you are and what you're doing.
So right now I'm in Western Pennsylvania. We just got finished with a rally stop with voters, urging them to get out to the polls early. You know, a lot of people voting early, but more people said they were going to wait till election day. But, you know, we just want to make sure people get out and vote, make sure their voice is heard.
I've been asking everybody this week this generic question at the top of our conversation. I'll ask you as well. We are inside of 2 weeks. Broadly speaking, we'll come back to Pennsylvania in a second. At this point, how are you feeling about your support and about the campaign of Donald Trump?
Cautiously optimistic. I feel good, but it doesn't matter if, you know, people don't get to the polls. This is now about turning. So I think the trajectory of the race favors Donald Trump, but now the voters of America have to make sure they weigh in.
What's your read on why this race is so close?
Two things. I think one, voters really tried to give Kamala Harris an opportunity. And I don't think that she's done well with that opportunity to make her views known about what she would do with the country. I think secondarily, yeah, we are bitter. We are somewhat bitterly divided as a country. And so I think you have voters who do remember Donald Trump's presidency. They remember it quite well, and they want to have him back. And so I think it's going to be a tight race in every battleground state. But I think all the battleground states are basically going to go one way. I don't think you're going to have a situation where some battlegrounds vote for Kamala Harris, some vote for Donald Trump, and we're 272 to 268 in the Electoral College. I actually don't think that's going to happen. I think the battlegrounds are all going to just fall one way, and it'll be a decisive Electoral College victory. Is
your sense that we're going to see that break, however it breaks, to your point? Will we see that break? Will there be signs of that break prior to Election Day? We won't know until after.
I think you're starting to see signs of it now. You know, the national polls, which, you know, Donald Trump has never done well in, he either is tied or has a 1-point lead. If you look at what's happening in these battleground states, Real Clear Politics average in every battleground state now has Donald Trump with a lead. I think Nate Silver came out last night with his predictive models demonstrating a Donald Trump victory. So I think you're starting to see some of that eke out. And then when you're on the ground, listen, the real, we all see it. Then you have a situation where, you know, Kamala Harris's main talking point is about Donald Trump, not about what she would do. I'm in Pennsylvania. You got Bob Casey, senator from Pennsylvania. In his TV ads now, he's speaking fondly of Donald Trump's trade policies. A Democrat senator in the state of fondly about Donald Trump in his ads. So that all tells me this race is leaning Donald Trump. I think that's what we're going to see on November 5th.
Speaking of Donald Trump, yesterday his former chief of staff, John Kelly, called him a fascist. And yesterday Vice President Harris said he is absolutely unhinged. Your thoughts?
First of all, I would say that's ridiculous. I think people who know Donald Trump this way, how come it didn't come out at any point over the last 4 years or any point over the last 12 months? How come this didn't come out during the Republican primaries early on? This would have been good information then. I think the reason a story like this ekes out now is because somebody's trying to do an October put any real faith into that at all.
But when your former chief of staff inside the White House calls you a fascist, that's not Joe Biden using the F word. That's your former chief of staff using the F word, Congressman.
Yeah. But he also got fired. So I would imagine John Kelly's very upset about the fact that he was fired by Donald Trump. You know, I know people who worked in the Trump White House. They do not have fond memories of John Kelly. And those people, I'm actually on a bus with them right now, they speak very proudly about Donald Trump. And they said there's no way in hell that he's a fascist. So who are you going to believe? A man who was fired by Donald Trump or people that worked with Donald Trump in the White House who are on a bus tour right now supporting Donald Trump, wanting him to be the 47th president?
Tell me how you see Donald Trump's path to victory in Pennsylvania, where you are right now.
I think two things. One, I was in Northeast Philadelphia a couple days ago. I was in Kensington Beach, Philadelphia, a couple days ago. Part of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. I think Kamala Harris is going to underperform in urban areas. I think if you talk about the rural areas of Pennsylvania, everything I've seen, they are going to turn out large for Donald Trump. And in the suburb areas is going to turn out well for Donald Trump. That's why I think he wins the state of Pennsylvania.
That's a bold prediction that Kamala Harris will underperform in urban areas. I got 30 seconds left very quickly here. What's your read of how black men, everybody's talking about black men, how will they vote vis-a-vis Donald Trump in this election?
I anticipate they're going to be about 25 to 30% of black men are going to vote for Donald Trump in this election.
25.
Been good.
You said 25 to 30%, you believe?
25 to 30%. Yes, I do.
All right, we will see.
I'm telling you, that energy's out here, brother.
Congressman Byron Donalds, Republican out of Florida, a friend of Donald Trump, on the bus campaigning for him right now in Pennsylvania. Congressman, good to have you on. Thanks for your time, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, thanks, Tavis. See you.
Take care of yourself. When we come forward, I'll give you the rundown. Not the way we typically do it, but he's on the bus. I want to get to him right quick. Give you the rundown for the rest of today's show, which will commence with Jonathan Alter and his new book about Donald Trump. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
My name is Anton Moore. Around here, we have hardworking people that just need a break. Whether it's investing in small businesses or making housing affordable, Vice President Harris gets it.
Kamala Harris is making sure black men have the tools to build generational wealth. She'll put a policy in place that gives 1 million forgivable loans to help entrepreneurs, including black entrepreneurs, start their own businesses. She also plans to give $25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time homeowners and crack down on racial bias in home appraisals. Harris's plan will help black men own more assets so we can build long-term wealth.
This is what an investment in my community looks like. We're trying to build generational wealth. No get-rich-quick schemes, no scams, no one-time check, none of that. Vice President Harris got our back. I'll be there on November 5th. Will you be there?
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
And that chill in the air means one thing. It's truck season!
Just 5 more minutes.
No snoozing. You've got so much to do. So do it all in a Chevy Colorado or Silverado, including the HD or class-leading 440-mile range of the Silverado EV.
Wait, what? Are you talking to me?
Yes! Picture it. Work, play, hauling gear, off-roading. A Chevy truck can take whatever you can throw at it, including tailgating in an actual tailgate!
I mean, homecoming is just around the corner. Oh, and showing up in a new truck?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Get things done and look good doing it.
Okay, I'm up. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Without offering me a ride? That's cold.
It's Chevy truck season. Head to your local Chevy dealer and get 0% financing on all 2024 Silverado pickups when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
0% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 9.3%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available at least in some of the offers. Take me retail delivery by 10/31/24.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
All right, so we jumped right into that conversation with Byron Donald, given he was on the bus in Pennsylvania. Wanted to talk to him for a few minutes while we could about his black Republican point of view in this election. Now, the way we typically do it, in our second hour today, we will talk politics and more with our regular contributor, Connie Rice. In our third hour, 2 conversations. Up first,
save the children.
Save the children. We must save the children.
Save the children.
We must.
We must. On a clear day.
We must.
I gotta be free.
Save children.
Save the Children, starring the Jackson Five, Isaac Hayes, Roberta Flack, Quincy Jones, Gladys Knight in the Pips, Sammy Davis Jr., the Staple Singers, Cannonball Adderley, and all the biggest stars in the music business. It's the brothers and sisters getting together to get it on. Save the Children, rated G.
I'm excited about this. We'll have a conversation with the iconic TV and film producer and director Stan Lathan, who rarely does interviews. Stan Lathan today about the digital restoration of his 1973 concert documentary, Save the Children. The concert took place at the 1972 Black Expo, hosted by the Reverend Jesse Jackson and Operation Push. And as you heard from the original promo, everybody was on stage that night. It's an amazing piece of film work, concert documentary, and I look forward to talking to Stan Lathan about it now that it's been digitally remastered at the top of our second hour, I should say our third hour. On the B side of our third hour, how the Harris campaign's appeal to black men misses the mark and how the VP can get it right. It is the subject of an essay written by educator and journalist Anthony Conwright for The Nation magazine. We'll let Anthony unpack his views on Kamala Harris and black men on the backside of hour three. But we commence this show. We've already always started, I guess. I can't say commence. We continue now this show with Jonathan Alter. Pleased to have him on, New York Times bestselling author, who will take us right now inside his new book, American Reckoning, Inside Trump's Trial and My Own. The book details Jonathan's 23-day eyewitness account inside the courtroom during the historic felony trial of Donald Trump. It has been far too long, my friend Jonathan Alter. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great personally. I'm scared as an American citizen. I'm frightened. I'm terrified of what could lie ahead, but basically doing fine. It's been too long since we've seen each other. You know, I was thinking just now that I think in the 1990s we probably appeared together on television, usually on the late Charles Grodin show, but also some other shows, maybe 50 times.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time on television together.
We did, TV, and the good news, we're both still here, both still in our right minds, I believe, and still blessed.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, I hope so, Jonathan. Still blessed to be doing what we're doing, and I'm just I'm thrilled to be reconnected with you once again in one of these national conversations. This time here on radio. To your point, I'll follow you as I will throughout the hour. But to your point about you doing fine personally, but scared to heck, and I'm cleaning it up for radio, but scared as heck about the future of this democracy. Tell me why, no naivete here, but why are you so scared, so frightened?
Well, I think that Donald Trump has indicated in many ways in the last few years, not just once or twice, but over and over again, that if he said he would suspend, quote unquote, suspend the Constitution and use his office for, quote, retribution. And, you know, you had Congressman Donalds saying that his former chief of staff calling him a fascist was, quote, ridiculous. No, it wasn't ridiculous. It was the truth. Not only did he say it, but it's true. And so just, and it wasn't just him. So first, he wasn't fired, by the way. He was Trump's longest serving chief of staff. General Mark Milley, the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the top-ranking military officer in the United States, called him a fascist to his core, quote, unquote. So just imagine, Tavis, just imagine if, like Dwight D. Eisenhower, when he was a general under FDR, if he resigned and said, I can't work for this man, he's a fascist, right? Or if Rahm Emanuel is working for Barack Obama as his chief of staff, and he says afterwards, he waits a while, but he screws up his courage and finally says Barack Obama was a fascist. Don't you think that would be a little bigger news than it is now? Now it's just, oh, well, will that move the needle, or is it baked in? Everybody just analyzes it politically. They're not analyzing it in terms of what it possibly means for the future of our country. And by the way, just in terms of black men, and we're the subject of so much focus nowadays.
Sure.
When people lose their civil rights in authoritarian regimes, strongmen regimes, who loses them first? We all know the answer to that question.
Nope.
And Byron Donald knows that answer to that question himself. Everybody knows the answer to the question, and people just burying their heads in the sand and acting like, oh, it's no big deal, and I got a COVID check from Trump. Harris had to respond to that. It was actually Congress that sent the check, but Trump put his signature on it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a guy. I'm ranting here.
No, go ahead.
But just bear with me. So this is a guy who I go back with him a long time in New York. I live in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've been dealing with this con man for a long time. He only became a real demagogue when he went into politics. But back in the 1970s, the Trump organization was sued by the Nixon Justice Department for discrimination against black renters.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a huge amount of evidence. They put C for colored on the form, the real estate agent, and then they wouldn't rent to them. They would not rent to blacks. And so this, but then this kind of thing just kept going on. And then I think people know about the Central Park Five.
Sure,
of
course.
I did a documentary about Jimmy Breslin and Pete Hamill, and we had Spike Lee in it. You should have heard Spike Lee in our film talking about Trump as a racist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he took out these full-page ads, and he said these 5 guys must die. 5 black kids who later were proven totally innocent. And has Trump admitted that he was wrong about them, that they were cleared by DNA evidence, and that another man confessed to it? No. He says they're still guilty because he never backs off an inch on anything. This was so appallingly racist, and he really wanted to fry them. And Yusuf Salaam, we probably had him on. He's in the New York City Council now, one of the Central Park Five.
That's right.
He's going to be. I think this guy is so talented politically. I think he's going to be mayor of New York. He's got it all going on. This guy.
Oh yeah.
He would have been dead. He would have been dead if Donald Trump got his way.
Mm.
And then, I'm going to continue my rant for just a little while longer. Everybody knows that these producers at The Apprentice have him sing the N-word repeatedly on a tape that Mark Burnett won't release. But just setting that aside
mm-hmm.
for a second, Charlottesville, good people on both sides? No. The people he's saying were good people were white supremacists, full stop. The guy has dinner with Nazis. I mean, and, if you think Nazis like black people any more than they like Jews, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I haven't even gotten to what he did to Obama with the birth certificate. That's how he burst onto the
That's right.
national political scene. He lied. He lied about Obama not being born here. That was totally racist. And then when he's president, he talks about shithole countries. They just happen to be Jamaica and African countries. Come on. I think when younger black men, when they get the truth about this and get that Harris is actually thinking about them and proposing things that could help their lives, which Trump is doing nothing along those lines because he just cares about himself. When they start to hear that, they're going to come back to Harris. I'm pretty confident.
Let me just keep it real. I talk to everybody every day on this program. And for those of you who have followed Jonathan's work over the years, he's obviously a perennial New York Times bestselling author, Emmy-winning documentarian. If you followed his work as I have over the last few decades, none better than Jonathan Alter. But this is a white guy. And I've heard nobody make the case for Donald Trump on the issue, the case against Donald Trump, and why he's so. I once called him an irascible, unrepentant racial arsonist, and I stand by that. An irascible, unrepentant racial arsonist. But I couldn't make the case better than Jonathan Alter just made. I should just take that thing and put it on a loop for the next 12 days, wherever we are between now and November the 5th. I should just take what Jonathan just said, put it on a loop, and just push it out every day for any black person who does not understand who Donald Trump really is. Nobody. And again, this white guy, Jonathan Alter, my friend, has made the case better than I could. I'll leave that where it is. Let me ask you this right quick, though, Jonathan. Will all these Republicans, it's a big deal that your former chief of staff calls you a fascist, and Mark Milley calls you a fascist, and Liz Cheney campaigning with Kamala, and all these other Republicans who've come out. It really is unprecedented to see the other side say that their guy is so unworthy of office, sitting in the Oval Office. I've never seen anything like it in my career. I don't think you have either. The question is whether or not any of that matters. Does any of that matter in terms of how this thing is going to turn out?
Well, the only honest answer is nobody knows. And the people who tell you how this is going to come out are full of it. They just, look, this is my 12th presidential election, Tavis. That's how old I am. I go back a long way in this. And this election is so close. It could be that all the battleground states go the same way as the congressman just said. That could happen. But anybody who tells you how this is going to come out, don't listen to them because they don't know and nobody else knows. And the greatest experts we have all say it's within the margin of error, these polls. It's too close to call. So I don't waste a lot of time looking into a crystal ball, 12 days from now. It's a jump ball.
Yeah. Do you think, back to Byron Downs' point, do you think, and I've had other guests on who have felt similarly, that this thing is going to break one way or the other? I had, who was I talking to the other day? John Nichols from The Nation magazine. Love John. John's like, his belief is that when it's all said and done, it won't even be as super close as we think. He doesn't know how it's going to break, but his research and his work believes that it makes him believe it's going to break at some point. That's my question for you. Whether it breaks for her or breaks for him, is this thing going to break at some point?
I don't think so because there are enough variations by state. So I don't know. I don't know. I shouldn't have answered your question because
you don't know.
I just got done saying nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. But I just in my experience covering prior presidential elections, we're in a different country now that's much more polarized. People are much more dug into their positions, and we have many fewer undecided voters than we've had in other elections. And to really break in a big way, you need a lot of undecided voters. And there's some. They're enough to determine the outcome, but they're not enough to have it break really big. I don't think.
When we come forward, I want to ask you this question first, and then we'll spend the rest of our time jumping straightway into your book. The book by Jonathan Alter is called American Reckoning, Inside Trump's Trial and My Own. We'll let him unpack that and my own part when we get into the book. He was inside the courtroom in New York, where he lives, for 23 days during that historic felony trial of Donald Trump, and the book details his experience inside that courtroom for 23 days. We'll get to that when we come forward. But I want to start by asking him, not about Kamala, not about Donald Trump, but about us. What does it say about us? What does it say about the demos that this race with this particular guy is still too close to call? I want to go right to that question. What does it say about not him, not her, but about all the rest of us, about this experiment in democracy, about we the people, about fellow citizens? What does it say about us that this race is really this close with this guy on the ticket? Hold that thought. Hold that thought. I promise, John, I'll come right to you, man. You're listening to Jonathan Alter. I'll let him rant when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Analysts forecast a significant rebound in home remodeling next year as a result of lower interest rates. More homeowners are borrowing against the rising value of their properties and spending on renovations. According to the Federal Reserve, Americans have more than $35 trillion in home equity, up 81% from the end of 2019. Democratic Vice Presidential candidate Tim Walz has cast his vote in this year's election. Walz visited his polling location in St. Paul, Minnesota Wednesday morning. He was joined by his wife and son, who is voting for the first time. The U.S. is confirming North Korea has sent troops to Russia. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said it's a serious issue if North Korea's intention is to participate in the war in defense of Russia. And Americans say there's an age limit when it comes to trick-or-treating. According to a survey from Fairleigh Dickinson University, most Americans say kids should stop trick-or-treating by 13 and a half years old. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Staples prints anything you need for your business like banners, flyers, and signs. And Staples will beat any price quote. Plus, now print more, save more. Up to $150 off your print purchase. Offer ends 11/2. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details or staples.com/price match for price match guarantee.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Clippers fans got some bonus basketball last night at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. What they didn't get was a Clippers victory. In the first NBA regular season game in the Clippers' new arena, the Phoenix Suns held on for a 116-113 win in overtime. James Harden missed a free throw with 4 seconds left in overtime that would have tied the game. Harden then fumbled away an inbounds pass, preventing the Clippers from getting off a potential game-tying three-pointer at the buzzer. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer still had a festive sellout crowd in the building. Kevin Durant, who led the Suns with 25 points, said the Intuit Dome is already the best arena in the NBA. Another major sporting event is in Inglewood tonight. The Rams play the Minnesota Vikings at SoFi in the NFL's Thursday night matchup. 2 HBCU football teams are ranked in this week's top 25 Division I AA poll. North Carolina Central is number 21. Jackson State is 23rd. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. October marks the 3rd anniversary of Mark Ridley Thomas's indictment and suspension from the Los Angeles City Council. Recently, I authored an op-ed about various media actors who continue to abdicate their responsibility to report the truth in Dr. Ridley Thomas's case. I invite you to read the piece on our KBLA 1580 website. Following months of filings, MRT's appeal is finally set for oral argument on November 21st at the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals. A 3-judge panel will hear and weigh the arguments of government prosecutors and MRT's appellate counsel. They will decide whether prosecutors in the United States Attorney's Office properly interpreted and followed the law, whether the district court judge erred in deciding critical issues of law in ways that prejudiced the trial outcome and denied MRT a fair trial, and whether the verdict in the case should be overturned or whether the case should be remanded back to the district court for a new trial. MRT is seeking an outright reversal of the verdict. I have maintained all along that the U.S. Attorney's Office exaggerated claims of corruption in this particular case. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Indeed, the U.S. Supreme Court recently delivered a ruling in a case called Snyder that will have major ripple effects on the anti-corruption landscape. In short, the court ruled that there is no criminal act, there is no bribe, if there is no exchange for an official act. The legal statute does not apply to gratuities or gifts absent a quid pro quo agreement between the two parties. As MRT never received monies and no such exchange was ever proven in the government's case against him, I would think that the 9th Circuit Court has all the runway it needs to rule in MRT's favor following the hearing next month. Ironically, next month is also MRT's 70th birthday, which means that he has spent most of his adult life in love and service to this community. It would be tragic for another court to miss an opportunity to correct the public record in a case that should never have been brought forward in the first place. MRT cannot get these lost years back, but justice delayed does not have to be justice denied. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed. I'm glad about it. Our guest is Jonathan Alter, perennial New York Times bestselling author, Emmy-winning documentarian, longtime friend of mine who I haven't seen in a long time, but pleased to have him on this program. His book is called American Reckoning, Inside Trump's Trial and My Own. Let me speed these things up, Jonathan. This time is getting away from me. Let me just ask you just right quick. What does it say about us, the people, this experiment in democracy, that this race with this guy is so close? I mean, it just seems to me that we apparently don't really care about this existential threat to our democracy that he represents if the race is this close.
I totally agree. So I like to use the 3 Ds. Demagoguery. Demagoguery works, Tavis, if you blame the other scapegoats. And by the way, if you see a politician always using fear of scapegoats, and it's not you right now, it's going to be you pretty soon, because that's his whole MO, scapegoating, right? And so, during the Nazi period in the 1930s, a novelist, Sinclair Lewis, wrote a book called It Can Happen Here.
Mm-hmm.
And he was right. We're learning that it can happen here because demagoguery, just dissing people, works. And that the second D is disinformation.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't blame people for being misled by this guy because they're just flooding the airwaves, and the Russians are helping them. This just came out with lies about Harris and Walz. They said Walz was a child molester. The Russians peddled that. Pretty much everything you hear out of Donald Trump's mouth is a lie. And because the fish rots from the head, almost everything you hear from his ads is also a lie.
Right.
A very, very little of it is actually true. We could go through chapter and verse, but we have such a siloed media now. We don't have mass media the way we used to, that a lot of people don't know better. So 100 million people saw the video of him, playing at McDonald's for 15 minutes. He couldn't even remember yesterday what a fryer was. And 100 million people saw that. How many people saw it pointed out by somebody from CBS that he's against raising the minimum wage,
Mm-hmm.
which hasn't been raised since 2009? He's against any increase. How often did you see that? So that the information is not coming through because of all the disinformation. And then the third factor I'd say is disappointment, the third D.
Mm-hmm.
People are disappointed in their institutions. They're disappointed in the government, both parties, in what it has provided for them. And even though, the economy by relative standards is good, inflation is back down to what it, was some years ago. Took too long, but, the economy is actually really good. There are a lot of jobs available. People are rightly disappointed about what's happened to them over the last 10 years. So when that happens, you have to look at, okay, who's going to at least try to make it better for you versus just entertaining you as some kind of outlaw. Look, Trump's appeal, I think, in a lot of places is because he's an outlaw. It's an FU appeal, like for everybody who wants to flip the bird.
I get that.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's fine in like an action hero.
Right.
But we need presidents to get stuff done for us. And even if they can't always do it, you want them getting up every day and trying to do it rather than just thinking about themselves. And Harris's program, I got to tell you, it's really good for everybody, and it's really good for African Americans.
Speaking of African Americans, let me connect these dots right quick. That point you just made about the big FU that people resonate with when they think about voting for Donald Trump, that's part of the reason, part of it, why those black men, whatever that number is, I don't think Byron Donald's anywhere near correct. It ain't going to be 25 to 35% of black men he siphons off. Black men have historically always voted the same way that black women did. So there's no way Donald Trump gets anywhere near 25 or 30% of black men. No way. But the point very quickly is that the black men who do like Donald Trump, they see that Tony Montana, Scarface, Donald Trump, FU, and if any black man ever wanted to tell America anything, FU would be on the short list of things you want to say. You can't say it. The society doesn't work that way, but if you could get away with the stuff that Donald Trump gets away, telling everybody to go screw themselves, you'd want to do that. And so there are people that resonate with that. I digress for now for those who heard our conversation earlier about the way you laid out this racism argument that details who Donald Trump is. I just wanted to add that point there. Let me do this right quick here.
Yeah, because it's huge, and just the people. I'm hoping that people realize if they don't vote, if they vote for the couch, that's a vote for Trump.
Indeed. So let me pivot right quick because I still ain't got to your book, man. This time is getting away from me. So this is a developing story. I'm looking at a piece literally right now, and the piece is entitled "Why Hasn't the Washington Post Endorsed Yet?" There is a billionaire owner of the Washington Post. Everybody knows it. But the Washington Post, inside of 2 weeks, has not yet endorsed. That's the Post on the East Coast. Liberal Washington Post. Come out to L.A., where I'm sitting right now. The L.A. Times has decided they are not going to endorse. Yesterday, the head of the editorial board resigned at the L.A. Times yesterday in protest over this decision by its billionaire owner of the L.A. Times. What is going on with this so-called liberal media bias, Jonathan Alter, where the Washington Post has not endorsed? The L.A. Times says they're not going to endorse. Are you serious?
One-word answer, Tavis, fear. So what's going on in the business world now is that people are afraid, and there's nothing more chicken than a CEO who, wants to protect his hundreds of millions of dollars, right? It's all about the Benjamins for these guys. Mm-hmm. And they know Trump, and they know that if they come out against him, he will seek what Trump calls retribution against them. And he's promised it. He didn't like the way the 60 Minutes interview with him was edited. Bill Whitaker did an interview with him on 60 Minutes. What did he say the next day? He said, well, when I get elected, I'm going to pull their license. Mm-hmm. So these guys, Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post, the billionaire who owns the LA Times, they have a lot of business interests. They have a lot of shareholders they have to think about, and they know for sure that if they endorse Harris, Trump will come after them. That's not the way it's supposed to be in this country. That's the way it is in dictatorships, and we're slowly sliding into that kind of a world where it's just an oligarchy with a bunch of thieves at the top who it's all about loyalty. That's all they care about.
It's another
they will punish their enemies.
It's another indictment for me of why these billionaire owners of all these media outlets, we ain't mentioned Elon Musk at Twitter, these billionaire owners of these media outlets is problematic. It has been for me from day one. But when you're in a race like this with this much on the line, and the liberal Washington Post has not endorsed, and the liberal LA Times has said they won't endorse, that is a problem. And Jonathan's right. He went right to the right word, fear. And we know what they're afraid of. But can you believe? I can't imagine. I never thought in my lifetime that we'd have these two major newspapers afraid afraid to endorse in a race with this much riding on it. I digress. When we come forward for the rest of this hour, we've got to get to this book, American Reckoning, Inside Trump's Trial and My Own. Our guest is Jonathan Alter, and I'm glad about it.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
My name is Anton Moore. Around here, we have hardworking people that just need a break. Whether it's investing in small businesses or making housing affordable, Vice President Harris gets it.
Kamala Harris is making sure black men have the tools to build generational wealth. She'll put a policy in place that gives 1 million forgivable loans to help entrepreneurs, including black entrepreneurs, start their own businesses. She also plans to give $25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time homeowners and crack down on racial bias in home appraisals. Harris's plan will help black men own more assets so we can build long-term wealth.
This is what an investment in my community looks like. We're trying to build generational wealth. No get-rich-quick schemes, no scams, no one-time check, none of that. Vice President Harris got our back. I'll be there on November 5th. Will you be there?
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
Before running for state senate, Laura Richardson was named one of the most corrupt members of Congress, guilty on 7 counts of ripping off taxpayers and a pattern of deception trying to cover it up. Richardson is too shady for state senate. For your state senator, frontline nurses, classroom teachers, and Planned Parenthood Advocacy Project support Democrat Michelle Chambers, a champion for abortion rights, higher wages for workers, and more affordable health care. Democrat Michelle Chambers for state senate.
Ad paid for by nurses and educators supporting Chambers for Senate 2024, sponsored by labor and nonprofit environmental and health organizations, Ad Committee's top funders, SEIU California State Council, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and Jonathan Alter. My time is getting really, really tight. This has been an amazing, rich conversation, as I knew it would be when Jonathan Alter showed up today. But his book is called American Reckoning, Inside Trump's Trial and My Own. Tell me, Jonathan Alter, what did you see inside that courtroom for 23 days?
Well, I saw a mountain of evidence. It brought together, sometimes you'd see these accounts from the courtroom, and I wrote a number of them myself. They were very short. Mine were for the New York Times, but wherever you read them, you didn't really get a feel of just what a criminal this guy is. And it wasn't like there was just a little bit of evidence or it was a close call. He was guilty, and 34 times guilty, guilty, guilty. It was one of the most dramatic moments I've ever experienced, watching that jury foreperson say guilty over and over again. But I wanted to, I was kind of obsessed with getting a credential to cover this trial, and I was one of the only ones who was in the courtroom every single day, one of the only reporters, because most people had to rotate, and I had a credential from a tiny magazine called the Washington Monthly, and I didn't have to rotate into the overflow room or, out of the court. And I just felt in the months leading up to it that I had to bear witness. That's what it was for me. Like, we all have to figure, what can we do to, as Franklin Roosevelt said, we do our part. Like, what's our part in protecting democracy? And my part is, bearing witness and writing a very short book that's full of basically a full indictment, really, really barbed indictment of Trump that I hope people send to, their cousin who is thinking about voting for the couch, and because I would submit to you that you can't read American Reckoning and not get out there and vote for Harris, not just on the issue of the Constitution, which is good enough by itself, but this man is a criminal, and he has a long criminal record. And so I felt a need, part of it had to do with the way I was raised in Chicago in a intensely political family, and my parents were very involved in the civil rights movement. When I was 8 years old, Dr. Martin Luther King came over to our house in Chicago. He would move the movement north, civil rights movement. He had taken on Mayor Daley on housing issues, and my parents held a fundraiser for him to try to raise money for a rally at Soldier Field.
Jonathan, stop. I have known you for 30 years. 30 years I've known you. And you're just now telling you that my hero, Dr. King, came to your house?
Oh, yeah, and I got his autograph on lined school paper. I was 8 years old, and, I got some of that paper from school that has lines on it, and it said, "Best wishes, Martin Luther King." I have it hanging in my living room.
Stop. I need to catch a breath here. I remember moments with Jonathan Alter when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
My name is Anton Moore. Around here, we have hardworking people that just need a break. Whether it's investing in small businesses or making housing affordable, Vice President Harris gets it.
Kamala Harris is making sure black men have the tools to build generational wealth. She'll put a policy in place that gives 1 million forgivable loans to help entrepreneurs, including black entrepreneurs, start their own businesses. She also plans to give $25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time homeowners and crack down on racial bias in home appraisals. Harris's plan will help black men own more assets so we can build long-term wealth.
This is what an investment in my community looks like. We're trying to build generational wealth. No get-rich-quick schemes, no scams, no one-time check, none of that. Vice President Harris got our back. I'll be there on November 5th. Will you be there?
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe.
The Live Your Life organization mentors young women, helping them break negative mindsets and see beyond their surroundings. Through career exposure and hands-on training, they're encouraged to think big, stay focused, and make positive choices. Founded by Nikisha Mama Boo Smith, who transformed her life to become a community leader. Live Your Life is changing lives, but they need your help. They're raising funds to keep their new building open and expand their programs. Your donations will support food, clothes, hygiene products, and holiday giveaways. Visit liveyourlife32.com. That's LIVEYOLIFE32.com to help today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
I had to pause here. I need to catch my breath. I've only got 4 minutes left in this hour. But when I tell you I've known Jonathan Alter for 30 years, but in the last 30 seconds of this program, I totally get everything about Jonathan that I've always known and loved anyway. His parents are hosting a fundraiser for Dr. King while King is in Chicago literally getting stoned as he's marching down the streets. And Jonathan's parents, these good white folk, hold a fundraiser for Dr. King in their home. Everything about you, Jonathan, that I get you now. It's been 30 years. You finally tell me this freaking story, man.
Yeah,
but now I get you.
Yeah, I should have told you a while ago, but I've interviewed 9 presidents, Mikhail Gorbachev. I've interviewed a lot of people in my career, but this is what launched me. This was the most influential experience of my young life. And I remember he gave a kind of a mini I Have a Dream speech in our living room. And I distinctly remember I was 8 years old. The next day, everybody's gone. I went into the living room. I was standing by myself, and I tried to recite part of his I Have a Dream speech. And I was just, and then I see he gets stoned in Marquette Park. Here's the thing. A lot of people, including some relatives of mine, they were scared to come to our house that night.
Yeah.
Because Mayor Daley was the Donald Trump of Chicago, right?
That's right.
And if they came to our house, they would be defying Mayor Daley, and they were worried they would get in trouble. They'd get punished. So that's just like these newspaper owners we were just talking about. People who have a lot of money, they're often really fearful, and that's sad. Other people they just can't access their courage. It's really sad, and it's been one of the disillusioning things about my life. Tavis, I like to describe myself as an idealist without illusions, which is what JFK called himself. But it turned out I had more illusions than I thought I did. I thought more people would have courage. I thought more people would understand the stakes and understand their own interests and understand that this guy is a con man and who's also so cruel. I mean, just to give you one, I know we just have a little bit of time left, but
60 seconds.
Nancy
60
Pelosi's
seconds.
husband,
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi's husband, right?
Yeah.
A Trump guy broke in, beat him with a hammer, fractured his skull. While he's still in the hospital, Trump is making jokes about this guy, and now he says that he's one of the enemies from within that he will use the military against. Paul Pelosi, not even Nancy. This guy is dangerous, and people have to wake up and smell the coffee.
Self-interest trumps all. I'll put it that way. Your point about fear, but self-interest trumps all. Pardon the pun. I did not know this conversation was going to turn this way. I love sitting in this chair every day, just not knowing what's about to take place. But again, I am stunned about this story that Jonathan shared for the first time, but I'm glad he shared it. His book is called American Reckoning: Inside Trump's Trial and My Own. You heard Jonathan say earlier, and I will amen it, as we said in the Black Church. I'll just say amen to it. You cannot read this book and understand who Donald Trump really is and cast a vote for him. So I highly recommend American Reckoning.
Or stay home,
or vote for the couch, as Jonathan said earlier.
And the stuff about MLK, stuff about MLK is in the book. So.
Yeah. Jonathan, I appreciate you, man. Stay strong. Good to have you on the program.
Thanks so much, Tavis.
All right. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm
Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Analysts forecast a significant rebound in home remodeling next year as a result of lower interest rates. More homeowners are borrowing against the rising value of their properties and spending on renovations. According to the Federal Reserve, Americans have